It's Four Nerds Save the Universe.
What?
It's actually Four Nerds this time.
Yeah.
That's a
we
rare
actually have
occurrence.
four nerds for once.
And we're all going to talk at the same time. All of us. Overlapping.
I mean, that's normal.
True.
It doesn't want to come any closer. And it's also
It's very difficult to avoid talking over each other when you literally can't see each other.
Yes.
Speed of sound and electricity and internet and all
So,
that.
Bird, how are the
Yep,
babies?
Well, good. I have 7. 4 of them mine. 3 of them, found them around. It was
Lost and found?
I'll take them, and planning on having like a real big feast in about 3 or 4
the
days.
flavors good this time of year? Are they fresh?
Oh yes.
You have any trouble keeping them off your costume?
Yeah. I mean, they really like to. They tug at the ropes of the luchador mask, quite a bit. But it's kind of cute, right? Like, as long as they don't like pull the costume off and people can see my identity.
She caught on.
No, we're struggling with this microphone right now because Wander got these
They're really nice, but Shell doesn't bother to place them in reasonable positions, so she immediately starts shoving the microphone into my arm. We are doing live technical support.
We did 10 minutes of that before we started. You had time.
I know.
arrived.
This is normal.
You had so much time.
It shouldn't be normal. That's the problem.
It's not
Tough.
fair. I had
Deal
time.
with it.
I finally had
know.
time.
You did.
Sick
And then
reference, bro.
Each of us had a unique problem that slowed this down, and actually, no, I didn't. Shell did, but whatever. Okay.
Dang.
Under the bus you go.
I was gonna say, like,
The bus?
stop sign out, kids getting on the bus, and Shell's right underneath it.
Check out the hot new record from my personal indie band, Unique Problems.
Kinda.
I don't know if that would be an indie band or just kind of like an underground, like, I'm sad and kind of think I can play guitar.
I'm sad, so very,
Shoegaze?
very sad.
Shoegaze band,
Yeah.
basically.
Definitely.
Dude, the secret was to
I had a
flub
lot
the
of
sentence
friends
like 3
that-
times. It really helps the delivery.
I had a bunch of friends in college that were all in one singular shoegaze band that would cycle members constantly.
That's
And it was-
shoegaze.
It was
I still
awful.
don't know I still don't know what that word means. Shoegaze for music.
It's just like music where you're like staring at your shoes the entire time, and it's generally not that
Yep.
great.
Wait, what?
Figure out the literal part.
Well, that's
I mean,
literally it.
That's the extent
That's all
of
there
it.
is to it. You
There's
just like
no-
play the guitar very, very, very like.
Oh, so it's like so down, like
No. They just look at their feet. Shell's headbanging. They're just staring at their feet.
right, but like
They might
but
sway a
the
bit.
headbanging would be low enough, so it's like ugh,
No, there's no headbanging. That's
Yeah.
way too much energy for shoegaze.
Are they staring at their feet because there's effect pedals?
Yeah.
Oh.
Usually it's very, very heavily affected, and also just like you just play like.
That's a surprisingly interesting reason for it to be called that.
Yep.
Is that they literally stare at their shoes because there's pedals everywhere.
I mean, I don't know if that's how it started. I thought that people just did it because they didn't want to do a good show. Ironically.
Alright,
The heavy use of effects pedals meant the performers were often looking down at their feet during concerts.
Literal
Holy crap.
definition time.
How many
Did I
pedals
really
do they
call it?
have?
Did I really call
Probably
it?
every pedal.
Yeah.
I don't even
They
know what
probably had
shoegaze sounds
delay,
like.
distortion, reverb, chorus, flanger, danger.
So it'd be like if someone was working on like a MIDI keyboard and then it just was on the floor? Question mark?
Yeah, I guess so. Though I'm finding that imagery to be incredibly amusing. I'll play
Which
the
is the
piano
pedal-
with my feet.
I've seen some YouTubers play like all of Super Meat Boy with their feet, and it's really impressive. And I would never do that.
What?
Keith, did we have
Yeah.
topics? I don't remember if we had topics.
I was actually going to prompt you to talk about some of the games you've been playing because you're actually playing games for once now that you've escaped your nightmare intern, whatever the thing is you do, and you've been
It
gone
wasn't
for
that
2
bad.
weeks. I mean,
The real reason was because my computer exploded for like 3 weeks.
Your computer
But,
exploded, you were gone for weeks, and you just got back from your job. Suddenly you're playing games. What's it been like, Birdcatcher?
Oh, it's been amazing, Keith Mitchelson. We've been having people over here. We've been having people over here. They've been asking me, Bird, what sort of games you been playing? I thought we were doing a sportscaster thing.
And the answer is entirely Cookie Clicker.
Oh.
He heard you were playing it, Keith, and he
so
decided to play
excited.
it himself.
Okay. Anyway, so like all of you, I've just been playing all the artsy-ass first-person puzzler, exploration-y type of games that are out right now.
You mean Obduction?
I've been playing Obduction. I was playing Valley, which I don't think anybody else has played yet.
I'm going to be playing it tonight, probably,
I'm just going
I
to be
hope.
playing it. I'll probably be playing it
Really?
after this as well.
Because
Valley is...
aren't you playing a game from the people that made Valley, the other Valley game?
Stardew Valley?
Is it Pan? Or
Wait.
it turned out not to be?
It wasn't.
You're thinking... Yeah, Pan is not made by the Monument Valley people,
Okay.
though it looks very similar. Yeah, I looked it up in the middle of the video, being like, you know what? Let's sit down and figure out who these people are.
Uh-huh.
The answer is they've only made one mobile game before, and it's pretty good. Really short, though. Like, 60 minutes long, short.
But yeah,
All right,
at any
Bird,
rate,
go.
I've been playing Valley, and Valley reminds me a lot of, like, this is very like an adventure game. Like, there's, it kind of reminds me of Journey in that, like, it's all about, like, there's kind of these big levels, and there's these puzzles and stuff like that. And there's collectibles, but it's a very linear game, so you're just kind of going from, like, objective A to objective B in more or less a straight line. And then there's also, like, right away there's this section where you get, like, an exosuit. So you're, like, running through this forest, and you're, like, skating off the ground and stuff like that, while epic, like, orchestral music is playing in the background, like, stuff like that. Really feels like Journey. Overall, though, it's a really good experience. I haven't gotten too deep into it, maybe about 45 minutes in, but,
so you don't know for sure what it's like ultimately?
I guess. I mean, it does feel pretty, but there is an overworld-ish area I've reached just now. But overall, it does feel kind of like a very adventure game type of thing, where you're just going from like
How
one
long
end
have
to
you
the
been
other.
playing?
About an hour.
Okay, because according to most other people I've talked to, it's about 5 to 6 hours long.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. It's $20, so I mean, you get what you pay for in that regard. But
So
I
is
think
it's kind of like an
pretty-
open adventure, walk around and explore game, and not like a linear
Absolutely,
narrative game or anything.
well,
Guys,
it seems,
don't you remember-
it's not like a walking simulator. It's not like a Gone Home or anything like that.
It's more like run very fast, and as far as I can tell, shoot glowy things at trees to make them more glowy.
Don't you guys
Yeah,
remember
basically.
how back in the 90s video games were $20?
No,
It was
they
in a
weren't
very famous
actually.
TV show.
Most games back in the day were actually stupid expensive.
Yeah, they actually were.
I remember most of them being between 20 and 40.
No?
remember
Super
most
Smash
games
Brothers
being
Melee was like
40
50.
to $50, yeah. And
Yeah.
this was in 90s dollars, so that's like
and
$55 now.
I want to say consoles have actually gotten cheaper comparatively.
Definitely.
Like, wasn't the SNES like... The SNES was stupid expensive
I
at
think it was
release,
like
right?
$300.
Maybe let me look it up.
SNES price at launch. It was $250.
So
Okay,
that's like a new car.
That's not right. That's the NES. The Super NES was $200. So you were
Okay.
wrong.
I feel like you could have bought like
Yeah.
a house at that price in the 90s.
Probably.
But yeah,
Oh.
doesn't it
And you
look
would've-
like most things have doubled though? It looks like it to me from this
Yeah,
list.
I mean, that's inflation right there.
Okay, yeah. The Sega Saturn was 400. That was the one I was thinking of specifically.
Wow.
Yeah.
No
The
real
SNES
wonder that thing fell on its face.
Speaking of the SNK Neo Geo, $650.
Whoa, what was that?
Oh, yeah. That thing was insanely expensive.
Yeah. The Atari 5200 was 270.
Well, my dad got one of maybe he got the 2600.
I don't even
From
know
way back when,
how much that
yeah.
was. There's a lot of like
200?
B-list kind of side
300
releases.
I was close to that.
Okay, here we go.
I have Googled most expensive video game console, and I got a Huffington Post article that says, you won't believe what the most expensive video game console ever is. Which is very clickbaity, but it's the SNK Neo Geo.
It's probably some special edition thingamajig that was like
I think we
some
lost
kind of
Bird.
prototype.
What do you mean,
Huh?
lost
Lost
bird?
me?
What?
Did he just go totally silent on your guys' end?
He was like he sounded like he was going to finish his sentence and then didn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did
I
we
thought
actually
it
just
was-
lose bird?
I think we did. All right. Well,
Oh no!
I'll finish. Yep, there it goes.
Aww.
So I think I'm going to finish his point. So I actually found this really nice here. Keith, I'm going to send you the link just in case you want to throw it in the end.
It's
But
just a Kotaku thing.
it's a Kotaku article.
Yeah, the Neo Geo,
which
whatever
is
that thing
36
is.
years of console prices adjusted for inflation.
No,
so
this
the
is adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, so like if this was released now, this is how much they would have charged based on inflation. So the NES would be $412 in modern day.
money.
The Neo Geo, which I brought up earlier,
So
which is
basically, video
$650,
game
would be
consoles have been getting more expensive over time then.
Actually, according to this, with inflation, cheaper.
Yeah.
But only by like $100.
yeah.
Just, I don't know. I think part of it is
You guys linked me. You guys just linked me an article where all of the old consoles cost like $300 or $400,
Right,
and the new ones
$200 or
cost
$300.
$400 and $500.
that's what their quote unquote modern
Wait, really?
price
The original
is.
price for the Xbox One was $500? Oh man, I remember that.
Yeah,
Well, that's why-
all these
That
inflated,
fast.
increased prices for old consoles are still more expensive. Are still less expensive than all of the new
You're
consoles.
You're
It's
right.
the opposite
Uh-huh.
of what it means.
I'm forgetting about launch prices because it's actually been so long since in my mind, it's been so long since 2013 that I actually forgot that they launched the Xbox One at stupid high prices.
It's why on like places like Target.com, which I don't think anyone would really buy their consoles from them. I mean, there was that 10% off thing today, but I think they actually show now we're selling it for $2 whatever. It used to be $500, and I go, nah, that's just the common price now because everyone's competing with either Amazon or someone else. Pretty much everyone's cut it down to that amount.
Yeah, Bird says he just lost all access to TeamSpeak.
Well, it was sort of like how
He's
my
apparently
computer
uploading like
couldn't-
12 videos right now, so he probably shouldn't be doing that while trying to do this.
Yeah.
We've got Bird again. It only
Yeah.
ruined everything. Now he's gonna fuck it up again.
Next, he gets kicked off of Discord, so we have to switch to Skype. And then Skype's going to crash globally, and then we're going to have to call each other on the
Microsoft
phone.
will literally be
Microsoft-
on fire.
Yes, they go bankrupt and explode.
No, Bird's computer updates to Windows 10 again and just shuts him out completely.
No, God. Y'all are mean as fuck.
Don't you love automatic updates? I especially
Y'all are
love when
very
they stop you in the middle of the thing you're doing without your permission, as if they don't know you're doing something.
I really just like it when there's an update that then proceeds to ruin everything else.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
That's
yeah.
what that's what Bird has
That's
been
what
struggling
happened
with.
to Bird.
his life's been slowly being ruined for a while now.
I mean, for the past 20 years, yeah.
Before that, he was good.
Yeah,
And pretty much
I
just sunshine
was having
rainbows.
a real great time in kindergarten.
he had shit
That was
really
my
figured
peak.
out when he was 6.
Then he hit 7, and it's just like, no, just
Then he was
infinite
introduced to
turd.
orange juice, and his life was turned upside down.
Oh no!
Orange juice and pixie sticks. Ugh. Those were bad
God.
years.
Combining those two things sounds disgusting.
It is well. It
Sounds
depends on the
sugary
pixie
and
sticks.
acidic.
If you get the orange ones, I mean, it's like the same thing. It's just, yeah,
Ew.
yeah.
All right, so what was being discussed? Go ahead and do
We
a
were
quick
talking
ramp
about-
up again.
You were
Video
talking
game
about
company
Valley.
model.
You were talking about Valley.
Prices.
That's all I
then-
remember.
And then I mentioned that I brought up a Huffington Post article that said that the...
Oh, right. We were talking about game consoles. So Keith actually brought up the point that modern consoles are kind of more expensive because the Xbox One was $500 at launch and the PS4 was $400. So he does have a good point there.
The SNK Neo Geo, when adjusted for inflation, cost $1,200.
So all the failed
Yeah.
platforms were too expensive. Surprise!
Yeah.
Very
I
true.
wonder,
Very
why
good
that
point.
happened.
Except for the
Because they-
Dreamcast. The Dreamcast was actually priced really reasonably comparatively.
Yeah, but it
Well,
was
what
the
they were
Dreamcast.
trying to do was they were probably trying to recoup the investment and make a profit on the console sale, which is not how consoles work. They make all their money from accessories and from video game licenses rather
It's
than
not how consoles work
from the
unless you're Nintendo.
hardware. Well, yeah, because
true.
they sell really underpowered stuff for
Yep.
very cheap, and then have really strong first-party stuff that you can only play off of their things. So That's their model, but not everyone can be Nintendo, unfortunately. If I could be Nintendo now, then that would be amazing.
Don't do it. Don't do it,
Hasn't
Bird.
worked
It's a
out well
mistake.
so far. Is it, though?
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. You'll just get a bunch of dumb memes about you, I guess.
There already are some pretty dumb memes about me. I am a meme. At any rate, so Valley's great, A++. Aside from that, I've been playing Obduction, which everyone here has been playing. So...
Oh, yeah.
And Scrap Mechanic and Space Engineers, and...
We should probably
Space
just hop
Engineers...
into Abduction already.
Yeah, we might as well.
Just give that a
Might as
go.
well.
So, the creators of Myst, Cyan Studios, Cyan something, they went on and
Cyan
made...
Worlds.
Cyan
Worlds. That's fitting enough, actually. They made a new game, Abduction. They haven't made a single game for, like, 15 years or something,
Years.
right? Like, it's been an eternity.
Well, what they've been
since
doing
End of
is
Ages.
they've been re-releasing more and more HD versions of Myst.
The original
right.
Myst, like on the DS, on this, on that, and
Right.
Yeah.
I think they made Riven available and Uru with that one package on Steam along with the Myst. But
Uh-huh.
I don't really like that version of Myst because it allows you to walk around and it's all 360e. And I'm like, no, I'm used to the original one that came out
the real
in
Myst.
The
1993.
point-and-click version, basically.
Shell was trying to convince me to do click to move for
Oh, no. Oh,
for Abduction. That got shut down
no.
quick. That got shut down so quick.
no.
Aww. I
would
found
be
it
so
helps with
slow.
the pacing. You know how Wander runs everywhere.
Abduction is such an exploration-heavy game, though, that you need that movement speed.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be sprinting all over the place, because otherwise you're going to be spending, like, twice as long
It'd be
doing
interesting. I haven't
almost
tested it
nothing.
yet, but I've noticed there's a transition type that's supposed to be instant instead of sliding around. Because when I tried using... I tried switching over to the click to move for a moment just to give it a shot, and what you would do is you would just slide around slowly to each thing you clicked on, which were a bunch of set locations. But you would slide there awkwardly, and then you could move around by you could still look in every direction from there. And it was like, oh, well, that one helped with what I was hoping for. Because when I saw click to move, I was thinking like maybe it would help you face the right direction of what like might be important to help you find stuff, like in the old Myst games. But I haven't tried the instant one yet to see if that is just a teleport where you can still look around, or if it'll actually have fixed camera angles. Because that would be kind of helpful.
In Exile, I think that was the first one where they introduced 360 view. I think Riven, you could only look around you horizontally. But I remember with Exile, point and click, whatever, and then you stay in a fixed spot, but then you can move your camera all over the place. And if you want to approach a table, you have to be able to with the click function.
It just sounds awkward. I'm glad they've moved away from those control schemes.
But I noticed that you've said, though, Wander, that because of it, it's more likely that they're sort of alleyways, or I suppose I shouldn't call them alleys, but there are definitely pieces of the trail that are a bit more redundant. I remember in the old Myst games, while there were some scenic things along the path, usually there would only be like one intermediary path or two between getting to a location that actually had something relevant to the puzzles that are around you.
There's a lot
That's
of
true,
empty walking space in Abduction. Like, Myst is pretty puzzle dense. Abduction is, like, very puzzle light, actually. I was kind of surprised going into it.
I was surprised that, no spoilers, obviously, but later on,
Oh, no, spoilers.
We were guessing at like
Probably.
how you would
I would
push
avoid
things
spoilers
around.
because none of us are at the same spot in the game, and it's
True,
not
Right,
that's
right.
the point.
But
Yeah.
we were solving
we can go up
puzzles
to the
without
mine
anything.
cart and the laser bit, and then we have to stop
that's like
because
a half
Bird
an
doesn't
hour.
know the cool thing. Yeah.
But we were solving puzzles by guessing, and I'm like, I'm not used to this. Back in the Myst games, you would either find clues that would key you into what you did.
What do you mean by guessing?
Like just waving
probably
your
just
mouse
didn't know how to
around
do
at a
it.
puzzle thing.
Yeah, there was in The Witness how there was like kind of the setup puzzle at like the beginning of an area that kind of sets you up to know what the base mechanic is.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in a couple of places for Abduction. Like the the third zone you go to has this one type of puzzle that kind of looks like a witness puzzle. And so I was trying to solve it like a witness puzzle because I didn't know what I was doing. And we'd seen a clue earlier and we were trying to apply that over.
We were trying to use
and
that
then eventually
code.
I just started just clicking randomly and I solved the puzzle and I have no idea how. And then I got to another one and I just started clicking randomly and I solved the puzzle. And I couldn't figure out how or why. And then we stopped, but I'm kind of afraid to go back because...
So I don't think I'm as far as you
not a good
guys are in the
sign.
game yet at all, because I definitely don't think I've reached the third area or anything, but so far, I don't think I've really guessed at a puzzle.
There aren't a whole lot of puzzles to guess on, though, which is kind of nice.
A lot of it's been push this lever,
it's been a lot of
this
like...
machine, but it's not activating it with any type of code. It's just clicking on it. And it's like
Myst had a ton of like balancing puzzles and logic puzzles and stuff like that. This one's more like find the lever to get the next thing to work, and then move to that thing and get that to work, and so on and so forth. The most puzzly bit is just finding out where to go next, honestly, which I again find really confusing because it's kind of the exact opposite of what I expected.
which is why we ended up arguing a lot the first episode because I was like, look at this, look at that. We
Shell
have to
was
inspect
looking
things.
for clues. She had me walk backwards to a cinder block to check it out because it was shiny.
Oh yeah, I took a picture of a backgammon table because I thought that maybe the orientation of the pieces might somehow play into something
Might
later.
have meant something.
Something that makes total sense, right? Especially, like,
and to be fair, there's
that
definitely been environmental stuff that is the key to solving a puzzle and stuff like that. It was just not someone's random game of a board game.
So we spent a lot of time in that mining town in the very beginning, wandering around looking at stuff, trying to figure out where to go next, because we wanted to be thorough about it, and Shell's having me look for clues constantly, and I'm like, no, we just got to keep moving on, because, like, this stuff is meaningless. There's nothing happening around here.
That. I don't like you discounting something as being meaningless.
But
because
it all was. It was aggravating.
And then the one thing that was meaningless that we missed was just behind an object that we could have approached from on the opposite side.
So you know how there was, like, pieces of paper on a table at one point, you could read them, and it has kind of like basic lore information on like how does this machine work. But ultimately, you don't need it for puzzle solving, except for like one or two tidbits. Well, there was one small scrap of paper with a door code on it that we missed because on the other side of a camcorder, and we were standing in such a perfect way that it was totally invisible to us, and we moved on without ever seeing it. And so, like, 2.5 hours later, we were streaming this by this point, and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, it's just this," and I'm like, "Where was this? How would anybody know this?" Like, it made sense, but it was also like really mind-boggling. I'm trying to be vague here because Bird doesn't know anything about this.
I was trying to say, hey, the code is probably like the date she was born, the date she was abducted.
We had found an audio log, and Shell was just like going through every single irrelevant number, trying to like somehow pigeonhole it into the situation. Well, but like irrelevant to the door code, which is the point.
There's still some undercurrents of bitterness about this going on, apparently.
Oh, absolutely. We've been arguing about this off camera.
I'm also half bitter at the game because...
Shell's looking for clues in all of there aren't clues.
I just didn't like it how we picked up a piece of paper that literally told us the number.
Yeah.
And it was
she wants to solve a puzzle to get that clue, and instead they tell it explicitly.
I wanted to figure it out myself by reading something that was pertinent to the character and deducing the number from that.
On
two levels, like I wish that I had somebody to play it with, because it'd be easier to bounce ideas off of people and keep track of stuff with two brains and stuff like that. Because there's moments where I'm like, oh, I think I forgot something, or oh, I'm wandering around now, and like little moments like that. But I'm definitely happy.
On the other hand,
I'm definitely happy I'm not streaming. I'm definitely happy. Both because people will be literally shouting spoilers at me because that's what they do on the comments for these types of games. But also
run into that too much, but I have run into some people that are very, very, very helpful.
Yeah, helpful.
And if you ignore them, they get very annoyed.
They get very mad you're ignoring them because because you're trying to play a game that you're playing and not have them play the game. But at the same time, I would be super self-conscious about how much time I'm spending not knowing what to do if I was watching, if people were watching it live, and that would just make me feel worse about the game in general, and that would just make everything like I watched like previously recorded, the people that are the gaming branch of Red Letter Media, they were live streaming The Witness, and one of them was super not into it because they're just like an action gamer basically, but the other one was like kind of intrigued by it, but they kept reading like stream tips talking about how shit the game was and how bored they are and stuff like that. And you could just watch the one person that was kind of interested in the game slowly melt down and slowly like you can watch their opinion of the game shift over time based on the setting in which he was playing it. And it's like it was actually like really sad because it's like, oh, he might have liked this if he was alone in a quiet room playing it, but like the constant rush of like getting stuck and then being watched while you're getting stuck and everyone knowing you're stuck and also having people that are bored be weirdly present all the time about how bored they are instead of just doing something else with their time. Like, oh man, I'm so happy you don't stream puzzle games.
We only streamed it once, right? Most other times, like the other episodes, we've recorded it on our own.
Well, we only did 2 sessions, 2-hour sessions for the game. Honestly, I guess from my perspective, and this is, I think, more telling for my channel, but it was just a lot of people being like, what game is this? Play Scrap Mechanic.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But you'll never escape that. I've seen people tell you to play Scrap Mechanic when you're playing Scrap Mechanic.
I know. Or play more Scrap Mechanic on my daily Scrap Mechanic video that's half an hour long. It's like, I can't. I don't want to.
Dude, they just want you to upload like 5 hours of Scrap Mechanic a day so that they can watch it from the minute they get home from school to the moment they go to bed.
I will admit, from the perspective of streaming Obduction, most of the people that were trying to be helpful on my end that, I did see were actually trying to be very vague with their hints. They weren't trying to just be like, oh yeah, it's this. Like the one person that told me the door code was like, you should know this already. Here it is. And I was like, okay, where is it? And I was like, Oh, I feel real dumb right now.
I mean, that's really good that they're being very patient and trying not to ruin your experience.
But I will admit that's kind of the exception because I remember.
I was going to say you're not going to like that all the time, though.
Oh yeah, when we were playing
it's an exploration game, and I think that's part of the surprise twist here for some people is that they're expecting explicit puzzles, but some of it is actually the puzzle is kind of this Metroidvania style like. Keep poking at these different directions and unlocking all these different pathways that make all these things loop together and almost like a Dark Souls like level exploration sort of way. Like I feel like I'm playing Dark Souls sometimes.
It actually, I would say if you added a bunch of Dark Souls monsters, I would say this would be actually a pretty good setting for it in a way.
I mean, I've only been on I've only been in 2 worlds so far, but these first 2 worlds in both cases, like they're circles. And if you feel super limited to where you can go, but then you keep finding alternate ways to get around, especially when you get new ways of getting around in the first place. Like before long, you're coming around and you're like, oh, you're opening a door from behind that led to the place you were at, and this whole place starts feeling smaller as it all winds together into this ball of yarn instead of separate slices. And I love that.
It is
I'm
really
looking forward to that experience.
The second world has these like gondolas. And I'm like, I really want to ride them, but I have no use for them because I don't need these shortcuts. But I guess I'll just kind of turn them on and walk away.
Oh yeah, it's a slight mind blow moment the first time. Like the first world is like divided straight down the center by a wall very clearly, and you get past it by that water gate. Like that's the very first puzzle of the entire game. And I think like the first kind of mind blow that kind of sets up how the entire world's exploration works is the first time you come back from the other side to the first side, but not the way you got there in the first place.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, look at
this. I'm
this.
over here now.
Like that kind of stuff. Like then that keeps happening over and over again throughout the game. So like the exploration in itself has kind of become the puzzle this time around.
Yeah.
As opposed to witness like puzzle panels or what I've seen of Myst where you're like doing weights and comparing them and stuff.
I'm okay with it. Like I like the exploration. It's one of those where I wish I had known that the exploration was the focus this time instead of puzzles, because I really was going into this with the expectation of like crazy puzzles all the time, and it's more of a wander around, look at stuff, find your way, find the path.
And the worlds are so well crafted too, where you get like this feeling
really
of like
pretty.
You can see how it all works and is put together and why it exists, and it's not just random wallpaper everywhere. Like it's so perfectly crafted in a cool way that's really fun to walk around in.
So one complaint I've thought of, like I've kind of had critiques. I hate the fact that the photograph button is spacebar because I keep trying to jump.
Oh yeah.
Over
Do you get a little bit of lag? when you try to take a picture of something too?
Oh yeah, it totally like just takes my game down for a second or two.
That's so frustrating.
It is
I'm
really
glad it
annoying
happens to
because
other people.
I'll like get stuck on something and just instinctively jump, and then my game's frozen, and I'm like,
Yep.
That actually brings into what I wanted to bring into next is like the game unfortunately has like technical problems across the board. Not only does the photo taking thing like sometimes lock up your game for a moment, I think sometimes because it might be trying to wake up a hard drive or something. But
it's something really weird about that.
But have you guys deleted photos yet?
no.
Don't.
However, I do
delete
have a number of
photos. Wait,
What
I do
happens
have a
if you
number
try
of
to delete
photos
a
that are
photo?
just corrupted. Like, they just never took properly, so I switched over to taking
Also,
screenshots.
we noticed at one point
here's
when we
what's
were
worse
flipping.
is if you delete your photos, what I've found is that they don't get deleted correctly. So it'll sometimes delete the wrong photo, and like you'll click on and then once you delete a few photos, like you'll click on a thumbnail of a picture, and it'll open a different photo.
A different picture.
And you'll eventually realize you
that's
literally
bad.
like you can't even open the right photos anymore. So I take pictures of codes and stuff like that, and I'm like, I can't. I gotta walk back now. Or in my case, sometimes
That's
I
really, really strange.
Yeah, sometimes I'll
they
bring
must
up-
be doing something very odd under the hood.
yeah. Like
Another thing we noticed is when we flip through notebooks and stuff, we have a black bar on the
Oh
bottom
yeah,
of the pages.
yeah. Some of the textures are broken. So you know those like notes that you'll read. Just the bottom inch is just blacked out. It looks like somebody censored it. But we went back to some of my old screenshots, and they weren't censored. So apparently, the second time we loaded the game up, the textures got corrupted somehow, and so
we missed sentences.
It was
of
one
things.
talking about language. I'm not going to get too much further into it.
I wonder if
the
it's like a
sentence just
translation
ends.
problem because like the game, you can change the language of the game, and all the different pages around you will change language around the
It's
pages.
not translation
That's
though,
pretty cool.
because it's just straight up a black bar that goes over everything, and it includes diagrams. Like there don't even need to be words on the page.
Yeah.
It'll still black it
So
out.
it's like a weird weird glitch on the to pile
Yeah.
into the list. Like, have you had the loading glitch?
For when you're atomized and you come back and it takes a very, very, very long time.
Oh no, trying to open the game.
No,
It's
No?
become
I heard
it's
about
common
that.
enough that people are talking about it constantly, and it happens to me every time I play the game now, which is that when I hit continue or load game, it'll put me on that loading screen where it's the circular loading bar, and you just stay there forever.
I heard about that from Petard.
So you get around it by changing your
YouTuber.
language, but then you have to remember
Huh.
to change your language back because all the notes will be stuck in that language. But
Yeah.
but because the interface has no language on it, you kind of can forget that you changed language in the first place to get past the loading glitch.
That's
But
bad.
the problem is that if you don't change it fast enough, whenever you load in notes, when you walk by them, they load in that language, and changing the language won't change the language of the note. So you have to reload your save in the proper language to make the note change to the proper language after you use the language to get around the loading glitch.
Jeez. You know, I'm a big fan of video games tackling an issue such as localization, because that's really, really difficult
Yeah.
to do to the extent that they did, where they were modifying like the textures and like the pages and stuff like that. That's amazing to me. But to have it, to know that that localization is the source of these glitches where like the game doesn't load is really bizarre.
I don't know if it's a source. I don't know if it's a source of the glitch or just something that somehow triggers the glitch fixing.
Honestly,
of course, it could be something like that.
All I know is changing the
kind of-
language can let you skip the loading glitch, which otherwise you could be stuck in. But I don't know if it has to do with it specifically, or if that somehow just tangentially fixes something somehow, which is all the more baffling.
I kind of want to say the game, like Cyan Worlds, is out of practice.
Well, they haven't released a
You'd expect them to
game
be.
in 9 years.
So, two other
not a new
glitches
one, anyway.
Two other issues I've run into is turning around fast tends to make the game chug real bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the loading assets. One of the other things I ran into was you know the waterfall.
I mean, the game
next to
the game
CW's
has
house.
to be poorly optimized because, like, people are talking about how like it looks good, but not like staggeringly good, and people are being blown away by the fact that they can't play it on their game on all their PCs because like their asset, like the requirements are like massive apparently.
They are, yeah. If you get close to a texture, it'll actually load in the HD one as you get closer.
Yeah.
So there was like a really, really shitty welcome mat that we were looking at. I'm like, that looks awful. And then I got up close to it, and I'm like, no, this looks really good. And it's like kind of like in-game 5 feet or something like that pops in a really HD texture. So that's what's
the game
taking
just in
everybody
general
down.
has trouble loading things because, like, when you first get to every single biome or planet or whatever you want to call them,
It
like the
takes
different
minutes.
settings.
It's
well, yeah,
awful.
the loading takes forever. But once you're in it, it runs great for that session. But for
Yeah.
future sessions, you unlock all these pathways and like shortcuts everywhere, and suddenly it's really easy to get to the opposite side of the map. And that's when the game's like, oh, I wasn't ready to load this stuff this fast, and so you'll like have the experience of like running through a tunnel that you had opened up previously, and having it freeze for a second as it loads the next area because everything behind the tunnel wasn't loaded in, and that kind of stuff. And like it definitely. It's definitely not quite working all the time, and if you start having to jump between settings to solve a puzzle, and you rapidly jumping back and forth over again, not only is it tedious because of loading time, but it can actually just crash the game because it just overloads with trying to load new assets so often.
So the other one I wanted to mention was they very clearly were making the game in 4:3, and they only switched it to widescreen in the very end. Because, how I was mentioning that waterfall? If you go stand next to it, you can actually see... You know how, like, you can see through water in games?
There's a thing where the reflection doesn't load properly with your FOV.
Yeah, so I've got a fairly normal FOV as far as I'm concerned, and it cuts off at the 4:3 scale. Which is really weird to run across. And, like, it's minor, but it's just, like, people are giving me shit for this, but I was like, this is an old developer that hasn't made a game in a while, and they're definitely leaning heavily on their, like, past fame. And
I mean, Randy Miller is, he's almost 60 years old at this point.
Yeah. And, like,
Robin is, like, in her 50s, I think.
Yeah, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those where it's like, this year alone we had... I'm going to say No Man's Sky, even though it doesn't really count. But I was thinking specifically Mighty Number 9. A venerable studio and widely respected.
I thought that Rand and Robin were brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers. Did I say wife?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you said she.
You said she for Robin.
Oh, she. Sorry. I meant to say he or something.
They could be like the Wachowskis or something.
I have gone my entire life thinking that Robin was a woman.
So Rand played Atris and Akinar, and then Robin played Cirrus or something in the original, and then obviously they got new actors for it later.
Yeah,
but
it might be flipped, but I think that you're right now that I think about it. Huh.
Right, and so that was pretty cool. But
I guess they were brothers. Yeah.
No, actual live actors.
Remember, they're live acting. They were. They still have all of the...
And also developers. Like, these are the main guys behind Cyan Worlds and Myst and stuff.
Robin did the music for Myst and Ribbon, as far as I remember. I have all the soundtracks. Well, that's just because I'm a huge Myst fan. Story from Boston Comic-Con. A lady was passing by my table, and she was from Italy. And she was dressed up as Yisha from Uru, one of the later games. And so I go, oh, you're Yisha. And she just was so surprised because, who knows that people are cosplaying as Myst characters? People barely even know about Myst.
I've
so
never
she
played
was just
enough of a previous Myst game to know that they had characters.
Yeah,
the
first three had.
I just didn't play Myst growing up. It's not like it's condescending or anything. I just didn't play them.
I mean, that game came out like 4 years before you even. 93. Never mind.
If you just hop on your grandma's computer and start playing Myst for a few minutes, you think the whole series is a bunch of empty rooms with puzzles in them. That's just the impression you end up with.
My father had been playing them from the beginning, so every subsequent game that came out, he got them, and I would sit next to him at night, and we would play through it until I got to be old enough to play them all on my own, especially the latter ones. But it was interesting. So, we were talking about Myst and such, and I'm like, I had made the Myst maintainer suit from Uru, and she goes, oh, you're that girl? And, we were just talking about my costume. Apparently,
the famous Myst costumes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's not
Word
many
gets
people
around in these parts.
do a fully lit maintainer suit. So they're like, oh, you should really come to Mysterium. Everyone talks about your costume there. And it's just
I have a picture of you now. Huh? I just Google image search Uru maintainer suit cosplay, and there you are.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
First time I ever saw her in leather.
Hey.
Wow, and now the internet gets to experience it.
He would,
I mean,
he would
it's pretty
tease
PC.
me about
I
my
just wanted to
Samus
make the
suits
comment.
too, because I was wearing spandex under those. I mean,
So you're this picture of this character with the helmet with the green eyes.
yes, yes,
It's like four
Holding
pictures
the book.
together.
Yeah.
Make that the thumbnail, Keith.
What?
Yeah, go for it.
It'll be in
If you-
the
if you
link up at the
find
very
my-
least.
If you find my DeviantArt page, which is Keeper of Ages,
Yeah, we're there.
that's where my costume is, and I spent what was it, 2 months on that just before the convention.
Yeah, it
I'm
was-
like, I have the materials.
it
I've
was
been
a
wanting
long
to do this
time.
for years. I'm gonna make it, and I had to use my uncle's
And
dental
she did.
tools to grind through plastic Christmas balls to get all those orbs. Just so, huh?
Okay.
What?
Side story. So we've moved into this new apartment, and Michelle wants a Christmas tree, but I said, I don't want a Christmas tree. They're big and they're expensive and they make a mess. So we bought a lava lamp, and we're going to decorate it for Christmas. We bought it today. That's the only reason why it's really
what does
relevant.
decorating a lava
You
lamp
damn
have to do?
hippie.
I've never owned a lava lamp, so I'm like, all right, let's do it.
What does this have to do about costumes
What's
and
to do with
mist?
abduction?
Well,
Yeah.
my costume has something to
has
do with
been a
mist,
thread.
which is tied to abduction.
I don't know
So,
how we
yeah.
got to this point, but I like it.
Yeah, so apparently I missed Mysterium when it was in Boston like a couple years ago, and it was in Salt Lake City this year, and it might be in Europe next year. That's the problem. Mysterium moves around.
It just sounds like it sounds like a Cirque du Soleil thing instead
show,
of like
Mysteria.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
because
No,
you're
no, it'd
thinking
be
of
in French.
Mystere.
I was gonna.
Ah,
Yeah.
Mystere is the.
excuse me, let me go get my snails. I'll gargle them, and maybe we can get some French going on.
I
Okay.
took Carl
That's
to
not funny.
Taruk.
I'm French.
No,
and you're making fun
not.
of my
You're not
my
French.
cuisine.
I've never heard you once say anything French.
I sang "It's a Wonderful World" in French, translating it on the spot.
You can't be Jewish and French. Your antibodies would kill themselves.
Yeah.
What? Nah.
Your body would reject it.
Well, what is everyone's backgrounds? Like, can
mean-
you guys list your
I don't know.
ancestry?
We are all cripplingly white.
We're incredibly white. So many types of
yeah.
white.
Different varieties of white.
There was like a
Well-
weird coincidence where both of my grandmothers are both 1/8 of the same Native American tribe. So there's a weird
Oh,
thing
neat.
where like once you
Huh.
get to my parents would be like 1/16, but then I guess I would also be 1/16 because the two mix mathematically. Or so that's I think that's how fractions
Yeah, I guess
work.
it would.
Okay.
I guess it would. But it'd be
that's-
different
that's the
sources,
only-
which is really strange.
But that's
Okay.
because we're American and everyone's Native American here a little bit.
I need to talk about coincidences.
Because at some point, Native Americans in the United States just become like how when you talk about everyone
America.
being from Genghis Khan. Eventually,
Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
at this point, it's just been enough generations that that's just how genes work.
Keith, I need you to talk to Batbeard again and ask him specifically what tribe he is, part of. Because not
That's
only do you guys
true.
live in the same town
Oh,
or lived in
God.
the same town, you might be from the same Indian tribe. I don't know. But I know
hope
he's
so.
part
So one of the
some
people,
kind of
one of the
Indian.
people I was playing Warframe with via Wander. So basically, someone that I met Wander. He's like an East Coaster from like Boston or whatever, and I meet him from Let's Play subreddits, and he introduces me to somebody to play Warframe with, and we find out later that the person is from my hometown and still lives there.
Well, I mean, at this point, you haven't had any interactions with him, but he's like a regular on the like multiplayer dumb stuff that we do every week.
Yeah.
So
I found him on Facebook, and we have overlapping friends already. It's really fucking weird.
That would make
relation
me very
is.
uncomfortable. That sounds pretty strange.
Like, people
I
who
mean-
have been in the room while we record Let's Plays for Sad Games with Andrew are people on his friends list. Like, that specific of a close relation there. It's weirding me out.
I was telling him he could go find you at some point. He's like, I don't think I'm going to do that.
It's a tiny town. It's not a big.
I know. I saw it. You have a very good Taco Bell.
We could be neighbors for all I know, or could have been. I don't live there anymore.
Well, I used that Taco Bell you took me to as reference because you knew the one I was talking about. I was like, he's like 2 blocks from there or something like that.
Oh.
He's like, I know where he lives, but it didn't sound like that's necessarily close.
It's close because it's Vacaville. That town is not large at all. All parts of it are close.
I mean, it's called Cowtown.
I lived on the edge of town, so far on the edge of town that I was in a different school district than the rest of the town. I was in like a weird Air Force Base school district, and my
You were on
dad's
the edge of Cowtown.
If I wanted to visit my dad at work, I would have to drive to the opposite side of town, which would take 10 minutes.
So, which tribe, by the way?
I don't remember. It's very important to one of those grandmothers which tribe it is, and they have tons of stuff and paraphernalia and records and stuff, but I've just never really cared.
Yeah.
About the specifics of it, to be honest.
I had a girl in high school that was so, like, super white, like, Irish, completely can't tan, freckles all over, red hair, and the only thing she was interested in was her Indian heritage, and she was going to go into some kind of Indian
do you mean Indian or Native
thing.
American? I prefer you
Native
say one.
American.
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you.
Yep.
But yeah, she was very into that, and we would not stop making fun of her for that.
I mean, it's sort of like how was unhealthily obsessed with my Greek heritage. I mean,
you can't help it.
I'm
Your
an
nose
eight.
is insane.
Hey, actually,
Giving
because
fuel
of the
to those commoner fires.
because of the aquiline nature of it, actually, it's more on the Italian and British side.
Did you
but
say alkaline?
Whatever.
Aquiline.
Oh,
It means,
okay. I'm like, that means like
hawk-like?
I'm like that's like
Yes.
a rock term.
Yeah,
I only know an
means-
aquiline nose because people use that in books to describe, like, what's his name? Paul Atreides' dad.
Oh, Paul Atreides.
I was
Yeah,
just,
so
I was just confused
aquiline,
because
it's
like alkaline
it's
is
considered
like a
alkaline.
That's a metal.
Oh yeah, I have all these chemicals in my nose. No, it's
Mostly
alkaline.
cocaine.
It means you have a strong bridge. So sometimes
Please
it looks
no.
like it has an arch or a hook to it. And yeah, I
You
remember
look
my.
like either George Washington or Paul Atreides.
I always thought it was Atreides.
Atreides.
I
I
don't
always
know.
call Atreides.
Yeah. I think it's
I never
Atreides.
saw the movie. If I saw the movie, they'd know how to
They're
pronounce it.
okay. The first
It
one
wasn't that great.
Well, I
I
liked
watched it for about 5 minutes and was like, I'm out.
It depends on which
Ain't
one you're
happening.
watching. If you're watching
Patrick
the really
Stewart
old one,
and the guy who plays Gimli is in that one.
the more recent one I think is the better one. The miniseries.
I'm
Was
talking
it-
about the one from the 80s.
Yeah, the miniseries was really good. At least
We're
in my
not talking
Do you
opinion.
know what was
80s.
interesting? The
Yeah.
guy who played Paul Atreides in the 80s version ended up being one of the evil husbands on Desperate Housewives.
Wow.
Yep.
You know
I
the
never
one
watched
that-
Different Housewives, but that's
I've
Kyle
just-
MacLachlan.
I was lost 4 topics ago, I think.
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan was
lost all
Orson
relation to what
Hodge
we're
in Desperate
talking about.
Housewives.
So
God,
Keith,
he
you're
looks
not,
very, very white
scared.
90s haircut in this headshot.
Keith, you were not much of a Dune fan ever.
Dune?
Yeah.
It's a book.
Dune.
I got really bored watching the movie at one point.
The
Yeah, that'll
Spice.
happen because that's the movie.
Yeah, and that's all exposure I have to Dune.
Uh-huh.
Dune is this
The
one
most fun-
thing that stands as like the one isolated sci-fi thing that my mom knows about and read, so that's the one interesting thing in my life is like at least it's like I can't she doesn't know anything about anything for any topics related to any of these things. So having this
Except
one
for
weird
Dune.
having one weird island of thing that she knows about is kind of interesting.
Well, I mean,
Actually,
Dune is
rather-
great. You should read it at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah, the books are really good. The miniseries
God,
is kind of
books are
okay.
good.
How many books are there?
So there's
Like 4 good ones, and then
yeah, so there's
like
like the
7
original
awful
trilogy plus like 1 or 2 other side books that Frank Herbert
Yeah.
wrote.
You
Then
see-
he died and his son took over, and it
there.
finishes the story in a lot of interesting ways, but not nearly as well. And it
Yeah.
gets kind of weird and fucky because like the main character from the 3rd book like doesn't die, and it's
Yeah.
like 100,000
Duncan
years later or
Idaho
something stupid
becomes
like that.
like the main character or something like that after
What? Duncan.
Yeah. So Duncan, Idaho is like this mercenary guardsman, whatever guy.
Well, he used
And
to
he
be
dies,
the bodyguard and weapons master,
then they
right?
resurrect him as a zombie-ish
And
thing.
he like rules the universe or something. It's really weird.
Wow.
No,
What about-
Duncan, Idaho is the right-hand man the entire time. He
No.
never actually rules.
Whatever
He's
happened to
the
the
man at arms.
Yeah.
He's a sword
Whatever
master.
happened to the navigators in the Bene Gesserit?
He could. Let's see. What's his face?
don't
Leto
remember.
kills them all.
Leto kills the navigators and the Bene Gesserit.
Every one of them.
Jared, no. First the Bene Gesserit, then the Joker. Why do you ruin everything? Go back to playing AIDS patients. You were good in that film.
And the interesting thing is, the only
Dallas
thing
Buyers Club's great.
aside from the films, the only thing I ever dealt with extensively with the Dune game was the Dune. The Dune series was the Dune 2000
You're
game.
like one who calls everything video games. It's like, oh no, what was it? It was Keith.
Yeah,
we were just doing Suicide Squad.
Yeah, every time we talk about a movie, I call it a game on accident. There is a Dune game, apparently. I just looked that up. It's on the Sega.
Dune
It was the first
2000.
RTS. It was
It
It was
awesome.
really good.
Yeah.
Looks like an RTS.
Is it Dune? Yeah, there's
Yeah,
Dune 2000,
RTS,
but I think
and-
there's also Emperor Battle for Dune.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if they're
I've seen
separate.
Adventure Game too.
Yeah, you see, I played Dune 2000,
Let me
and
take
you
a
could
look.
choose between three factions: the Atreides, the Harkonnen, or the
Oh, yeah.
Ordo.
Yeah.
Ordos.
Dune
Ordos.
2000 is based on Command and Conquer, like same engine, made by
Oh.
Westwood, good Westwood. Emperor
Yeah.
Battle for Dune was their between Red Alert and Red Alert 2, so before the quality of Red Alert 2. And it was like, I think their first 3D game. Also pretty good.
Yep.
Writing was really solid.
Right, but with Dune 2000, in between all of your missions, you would get cutscenes with your faction.
Yeah,
and
of
they
course.
actually got
The
they
full
got the
motion
Gimli
video.
actor to
Yeah.
portray his character.
Yeah.
And
Well, they always
uh,
get famous actors to do really, really, really
Yep.
terrible jobs.
Actually, I was okay. So
It was done
the
in the
Red
Mist
Alert
style, too,
and
with
Command and Conquer
live
ones
acting.
were a little campy. Mostly Red
Oh, yeah,
Alert was
they
the
were
campy
awful.
one. Command and Conquer was kind of like it was trying to be serious. Emperor Battle for Dune was actually pretty serious for the like
Westwood.
yeah, super serious
Yeah.
for Westwood. You know, not a whole lot of the camp. A lot of like political intrigue and whatever. I mean, ultimately, it just sets the stage for 20 to 40-minute mission where you just shoot other people. But Emperor Battle for Dune is the one I played. Actually had a really long branching story, and it kept branching more and more. And I was like, I can't even keep up with this. And then I couldn't play anymore because it was too hard. But I was also like 8.
what
So
was
there's that.
interesting was in the third Mist game, Exile, the guy who ended up later playing Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings.
Back.
Sorry,
I don't know where we are anymore.
he acted as Savedro, the villain in Exile.
Okay, how about we just pick a new topic and we don't talk about any of the previous
I
topics
was just saying
again?
that I think I've got to finish Necroscope before I ever start another large sci-fi universe thing.
What's Necroscope?
Never heard of it.
Oh, has nobody here done any Necroscope stuff at all?
I've never
No.
heard of Necroscope.
It's a pretty long series of like horror sci-fi novels that are basically like an attempt at like it's sort of like a reinvention of vampires to some extent, because instead of it being like a curse or like I don't know,
It's like a
any sort of-
virus or a condition kind of thing.
It's a symbiotic life form that takes over your body by spreading
Okay.
through your nervous system.
Darn
5
it!
books.
I'm
pushed this
I'm
out pretty
cur-
quickly.
It's closer
Sorry.
to like 13 books, honestly. It's just
I'm
they stopped having
currently
numbers.
developing a sci-fi series, and I was going to have a parasitic organism that
Oh.
endued their people with powers.
It's
like
Really
that.
not
happened.
unique. It's not unique.
Yeah, you're a bit later for that. But the Necroscope is called Necroscope because the protagonist gains the ability to speak to the dead, and that they can hear all of the dead for all of time and everything, and communicate with them by like he goes and visits their graves and stuff. But the gimmick
weird.
here is that people who die, like some people just kind of fade away if they didn't have much going on, and they just kind of go to obscurity and they become like a fog basically. But
what? Do
a
people
lot of,
remember
like,
them?
A lot of the
And-
great minds of history, they keep inventing and keep developing their thing even after death. And so he'll go visit this grave of Mobius and learn about how Mobius basically learned
Mobius
how to
continuum.
manipulate time and
It
space.
reads. Yeah.
Like so, like the Necroscope series has time travel and teleportation and like ESP and what's that one where you can like astral projection, along with like having werewolves and vampires.
Okay, I guess the question should be, what can't you do in the world of Necroscope?
It varies a lot based on person.
That's fine.
But it's the kind of crazy franchise where you'll hear about like a character who died, but then possesses the body of his newborn son, and uses his powers from that perspective. But then maybe that newborn son is slowly consuming his mind, so the offspring will eventually have the powers of that person, but the consciousness of the parent will fade and be suppressed by the growing mind that the body they're trying to inhabit, and like teleporting to alternate worlds and all this crazy shit happening. And at one point there's a whole vampire world that's like dominated by vampires, where there's a giant mountain range that blocks out the sun, so they actually have a permanent dwelling space they can go to. And in that dwelling space, they use their human slaves not just for sustenance and stuff like that, or for slaves, but also they literally use their bodies to like do Zerg like body melding and like making structures and beasts out of them and everything.
Ew.
So like it's a crazy fucking universe. It's also incredibly violent and incredibly graphic and incredibly
I don't think I want to read this one.
Actually,
I've been looking.
I kind of want to read it.
It's kind of great.
Speaking of crazy babies,
Sounds hot.
that reminds me of a series I read where the babies already hatched a plan to kill their older sibling after they were born. What? Yeah. You're just talking about babies eating each other's minds and whatever.
Is this the Asylum ripoff of Baby Geniuses?
No, this was the later one of the later books of the Wayfarer's Redemption.
Twice.
After the main characters finally get married and everything and have their children, and it turns out that some of them, if they're born with more of like the there's like a winged people called the Ikari. If they're born with a certain bloodline, it's like they are born with a fully developed mind, and but these ones were telepathic because they were twin siblings, which is a very rare thing, and it was weird, but their parents punished them.
That's good. They should have.
Yes.
All right, we've got to have closing statements on Obduction, just like opinions of what we had, because we kind of drifted off forever, and that was originally what we were talking about.
Haven't gotten very far into it, but I like it.
Obviously, this isn't final because most of us have a long way to go in the game. I think.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to gauge how much is left because of how it's not linear at all.
It's also not that long. Like, I bet 8 hours.
Well, what's confusing is that I think I've played like twice as long as you, but you're in a different world than I am already. Like, that's how weirdly non-linear the progression can be. So it's like do you think you're further
than him, or do you think you're just in a different world?
I think we're getting to a new plot point.
We've been to the blue rocky world and the jungle world, and then the starting world. I've been super like expanding in like regions that I've already been in, because I like to finish everything I can before moving on, because I'm worried I'll forget about stuff. So like, there's an entire planet I literally am trying not to touch, but I've also played a ton already. So like,
we decided just to go ahead with it, and we're getting further in the plot.
After the debacle of me not fully listening to Shell, I've started listening to Shell, and now we're moving on from planet to planet a bunch.
Aww, you guys are growing.
The not listening to
Your
Shell
relationship is getting stronger.
I mean,
that's the language.
Well, I found out
I'm going to call it
that
a debacle. You look at the metrics on the video, and people hate me.
I found out what it was. Because I'm not the person at the mouse, if I need to double check something, I have to ask him if I can look at a table again or something. And then he goes, no, there was nothing there. And I go, but I want to make sure for myself. And then we get into a little mini argument.
We found out why, though, she doesn't notice some of these things. She will think and talk about stuff with her eyes closed.
No, not closed.
Or looking away from the monitor.
I roll them off to the... do you ever, when you're thinking, you roll your eyeballs to the upper left?
Really, the biggest thing here is just the fact that when you're in control of the game, you physically turn the camera towards the thing you're looking at, instantly look at it the moment you turn to it, because you're thinking, your hand and your brain are all in sync and everything.
I could be looking at something else.
And then you immediately move on, but the person that's not playing could be looking at literally everything. So like that, I've noticed this because I pay attention to the comments on the Let's Plays and everything, and so I'm well aware of the fact that because people are not playing the game when they're watching me play, They are actively aware of all sorts of stuff in the peripheral constantly because they don't have to pay that much attention. Yeah. But they can be shockingly oblivious to the actual actions I'm doing at any given moment because of the fact that they're not looking at the exact thing I'm looking at, but super aware of all the things I'm not noticing and stuff like that. Like that's so by being a second person in the room, it's super hard to follow the exact process of the person playing sometimes, or if he glances at the table really quick to see if there was something there or not. You won't instantly glance at it because you didn't anticipate the camera movement because you weren't making it, but you're open to notice a bunch of other things. So it starts leaning either the person playing has to move slower, or you have to like have a lot of communication and trust to figure out in order to make it work properly because it's hard to coordinate that stuff.
I had asked that if he look at something that I give him the go-ahead to move on or something, but he's never going to do that.
Yeah, that would also be tedious in its own different way too.
I was editing Scrap Mechanic earlier today, and there was this one moment where I thought I got desynced, because Wander was like, I'm going to put a tire in front of Batbeard, and let me know if you can see it. And so I was like, when I was playing Scrap Mechanic, I was like, I don't see a tire. And then when I was editing it, the tire was in the goddamn middle of the fucking video.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't see it, because it was hidden behind a bush. And I was editing, I was like, is that the tire right there? God damn it, that's the tire!
Yep.
And that happens constantly.
Looking at my witness playthrough was an entire chronicle of looking at comments that point at time codes of an audio log being on the floor, and then looking at the video where I look directly at it and don't actually look at it or touch it.
Yeah.
Because the camera just tilted towards it, but that's not where my eyes were at the moment. But it looks like I'm looking at it, because if you look at a video game footage, you assume the center of the screen is exactly where the eyes of the person were and stuff.
Exactly are. Yeah.
That's one thing I would like to say, back to Abduction again. I like the fact that there's a linear plot that actually makes some amount of sense. I was so sick of the weird audio logs in the Witness that didn't seem to have anything to do with anything. And I was just like, the puzzles are cool, the world is pretty, but like, the sense of progression is thrown off because there's nothing. It's just puzzles.
Yeah. Jonathan Blow may be a great video game designer, but a writer, he is not.
Well, The Witness was weird because it wasn't a story. Like, it was. It was and it wasn't, but it doesn't even pretend to be a story. Like, the parts of it that don't feel like a story are literally not a story. They're a thing that exists for a reason. And without getting into spoilers, because of how spoilery that element of the game is, like, near the end of the game, there is parts where you can get a lot of context for what's going on. But that context itself is not a narrative either, and it's never kind of ever meant to be. Like, it's just you mostly just get an explanation for why you get like
it's like he's describing why the universe exists rather than like why.
Oh no, not even that.
Exists.
When you finish The Witness and complete it entirely, you get like 3/4 of an explanation of exactly what this island is and why it exists. Like that stuff. That's the explanation.
I never got there because fuck Hollow the Mountain King.
Like, you get that explanation, but you get that explanation itself, but that is what it is. That's it. Like there is no great evil. You're not beating the island
I didn't think
to
there
solve
would be.
something. No, I'm just saying I'm just saying that it's a thing where the world exists for a reason, but there's no narrative in the game. Like, there's not a plot that is developing when you're playing it. It literally doesn't exist. Is what threw people off in that game pretty hard. I kind of picked up on it eventually, though. Hollow of the Mountain King is not required to figure that out, though. You get most of the explanation once you're at this what we'll call the secret area of the game. That place is just filled with audio logs that give you the context of like why everything exists.
Okay.
Wander was not.
I guess you gotta go back. You gotta go back and finish it, dude.
Witness is probably still my favorite game this year.
It's pretty great. It's hard to compare things to it. It's so good.
Looterkings, so much better. Actually, Keith, we never talked about that.
What are we talking about? Looterkings. We played that.
Yeah. That
unfortunately,
that
shining paragon of. Okay, so I actually have something to read.
Are they going to make that M for mature, or are they going to give little guys loincloths?
I mean, you don't need ratings on PC games or any games really. You need a rating. You only need a rating on your video game to put it on in a brick and mortar store.
Yep,
true.
So,
really?
Yeah, because stores won't stock unrated games and adult rated games, but also who gives a shit about who cares about stores when you're a PC game?
set the
But
stage.
so
It
to
doesn't
give
matter.
people context, because we're talking about Looterkings, this is a 4-player multiplayer loot grinding type game where you play as 4. It almost has like Orcs Must Die controls, where you're playing a third-person camera where you can shoot forward or attack forward and stuff like that. And the 4 of you go into a lobby, and every single room is like a gauntlet where enemies keep spawning. You need to kill all of them to move on, and it's a bunch of randomly locked together rooms, but all the rooms themselves are pretty predetermined as far as I could tell. And all these different the rooms organize themselves randomly in a labyrinth, kind of like Binding of Isaac, where you don't know where the endpoint is, but it's somewhere, so you keep trying doors and everything. The problem is, it's a nightmare because the game itself, the difficulties were bugged, so you could not click on streamer mode or normal mode. You can only play
No, they
hard
just
mode.
don't have that in the game. They only have hard mode.
It only had hard
programmed in.
mode, so that was a nightmare.
What's streamer mode?
And I don't know. All we know is that there's a
Yeah.
hard mode, and that's the only one you can go on. All the other buttons don't work.
Fair enough.
So you're stuck on hard mode. Enemies basically two-shot you, but you have to hit them like 10 to 20 times to kill them. If anybody in your entire party goes down, and no one can use special abilities until that person goes back up
Which
again.
are kind of super necessary,
Yeah.
like especially early on. We desperately needed them just to kill a room full of enemies, and so like Keith would be caught out in the open and taken down, and then the rest of us are just like, all right, and then we'd probably die
It's
or
also
something.
a melee-heavy game that has no dodge or block, really. You can just swing and jump and use your special. It feels like garbage. Nothing flinches at all when they get hit. Like it's one of those ultimate it's like one of those games where you just feel yourself trying to attack the bullet sponge that's just having numbers pop up, but then they just hit you back and they're way more effective and stuff like that. So it's like the worst combat system ever, really. But what really falls flat is that as a loot grinder game, it's hot garbage because none of the enemies drop actual items. They just slowly give you experience and gold, basically, which is the quote-unquote
really
loot.
slowly.
And
like we didn't get a level until we made it to the second level, which is like 40 minutes in.
And what leveling does in this game is every single time you level up, you gain one random item that's added to the store that you can buy with gold. So you don't even get an item for leveling up, and you don't get items from killing people. You get items by buying them at the store, but you have to find the store, which is in a random room of every floor, and you can only buy from the selection of items that have been made available to you so far from your level grinding, which may or may not be garbage, and even when you get a second item, it might be the same slot as the first item, so you still only have one item to pick from. So then you have to get the gold each time. Your experience level, which only seems to affect the loot that you can buy, is persistent, no matter how many times you die, but your gold resets every single time, and so does all your loot. So if you were leveling up fast in this game, presumably the store would be full of like 20 different items, so then it'd become like a quick like money grind of like everyone like let's all fight together and survive and get to the store and then buy her like like 3 items to put on our character or something like that. But instead we beat the game with no pants. We all had like a hat and a weapon and nothing else.
Yep. Yeah.
And then we ran a game.
And there were actual slots for other things. But yeah, I had like this shitty hat that gave me like +1 armor, and like Keith and Stainless had really good stuff by the end of it. I don't know what Batbeard had, but weapon-wise, we only got crossbow. Keith and I got crossbows.
Yep.
And then Batbeard and Stainless got daggers. The crossbows very early on were completely OP because we figured out the easiest way to survive in the game was to stand above the enemies in places they couldn't reach, and we'd shoot them.
Yep.
And we'd sit there shooting them for, about a minute, clear the room, move on. But it was kind of painfully slow because the enemies are like...
We discovered this because we were in like some bridge level. We're getting obliterated by enemies, and I just panicked, jumped onto a weird pocket of the level. I'm like, oh, they can't come here. Oh, this is dumb.
And so the rest of us just crawled over to them.
Yeah, they all slowly crawled to me, and I revived them all, and we all hopped behind there, and you could like swing your sword from behind the weird barrier. Every single level has a barrier you can stand behind or a pillar you can stand on top of for the entire game, even though it completely breaks the game because everyone who has melee can't hurt you when you're hiding from them like that. And their AI doesn't like jump up or attack you. Like the game completely can't cope with that happening. It's hilariously horribly designed on almost every conceivable level. It's amazing.
And what was the purpose
I was blown away.
of having one goblin jump atop the other one's shoulders?
That was actually the one cool mechanic that I liked. If you hopped on top of Goblin, your damage would be doubled, your loot would be shared, and your abilities would combine together, which is a really cool concept, but ultimately, like, it's one thing.
Wouldn't it be funny if you guys could have kept doing that?
Obliterated. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, we're a human totem pile. Look at the powers we do. Oh, we died immediately.
Great. Yeah.
I do have a
Did you
quick
guys-
question though.
Can you guys do 3 or 4?
No,
No.
No.
Aw.
Aw.
What's your question,
my-
Bird?
Were the goblin wieners jiggle-boned?
No.
no. There was just
What?
a little. No, there
Totally
was down there.
static. Yeah. Yep.
That's dumb. What a stupid
It was
game.
dumb.
I was comparing the character models to the baby from Nevermind.
Yeah,
So
kinda.
there's a couple of notes about Looterkings. One, it's actually made by German YouTubers, streamers, whatever. I think there's some like normal developers in there, but effectively they've been marketing it to their audience. I don't know if they've been totally explicit with it, but the game actually has a very positive user review setup. In fact, it's 85 positive to 12 negative, and I'm kind of surprised about this, but all of the top reviews are from German YouTubers and streamers that were given access early and probably know the developers.
Probably all the friends and
Yep.
family,
I'm
Do
looking
not
at the
trust Steam reviews on small indie games.
Well,
Because the thing about small indie games is that no one knows they exist, so the only people that know about the game to review it are the people that the developer tells, which are usually friends and family and coworkers and acquaintances, or people that are like, oh my god, I'm a small YouTuber and they gave me a key, so I'm going to give it a positive review because I feel like I was given attention. So it's a nightmare. Never trust reviews on Steam for tiny games, or most games really, but still.
well, so can I speak?
Go.
All right. So I remember, looking on Amazon.com, and I was looking up a certain product, and I noticed all the reviews for a particular item were the whole, I was given a free sample, so, this is my unbiased review kind of thing. And I go, wait, every single review here was from a handout? It would be like if everyone that reviewed a game or a movie or something had been, I mean, obviously people for movies, they usually get a previewing of it, but...
Oh yeah, game reviews and movie reviews are actually both usually from, like provided for screenings or provided for copies of games. That's actually generally how that works. But they're usually unattached to the developer.
Yeah.
And I remember that there was an artist I was following, and she had gotten some markers or something, and she goes, guys, I have a conundrum. I tried these markers, and they are terrible. I don't want to give a bad review, but I don't want to mislead people by saying it's good.
Yeah, so I had
That's what
problem with
batteries
this
are for.
one.
Do it. Absolutely do it.
Yeah.
They had given us 4 keys, and I felt kind of guilty because, it was like kind of a super positive thing. It's like, hey, you want to play like our online multiplayer game that you can play with friends and whatnot? And I'm like, that sounds like a blast, yeah.
Yep.
And so we get to the end, and I did this with the Necropolis, too. I get to the end, and I'm like, I have to write a review for this, because, like...
People have to know that this is, like, kind of not what anyone wanted.
And so, like, I think I'm, like, the 3rd or the 4th review on this one. And a number of people kind of left comments, whatever. The developer responded, actually, with, like, 3 paragraphs asking me to take down my review. Because, yeah.
Would you reconsider your bad review? It is early access.
Yeah. And, like, the response to that one was more or less shutting the guy down, saying, like, it's bad right now. And, like...
All the
this is
reviews are early access.
Yeah.
You can't only do positive reviews because it's early access. That's insane.
Yeah. But just because your game is early access doesn't mean it's forgiven for everything.
Yeah, the
like,
reviews
I was
labeled
the same
early
thing with
access.
Necropolis.
They put an
And I
early
liked
access
it.
badge on the review. Like,
Yeah.
it's right there. Everyone knows.
Like, I liked Necropolis, but I still ripped it to shreds because, like, it wasn't worth it at the time. And I'm really hoping they do make it worth it. And if it turns out Looterkings 2 years down the line is actually really fun, yeah, absolutely. But,
I mean, you did the nice thing.
Go for it.
I'm just saying, I'm looking at his review, and he did the nice thing of, talking about its good points, and then the whole but, this is
yeah.
So
this is what's wrong with it.
It wasn't just
Not
like
really. It
unfoundedly
was
ripping it
mostly
to shreds.
negative, but still.
Well, I mean, it was balanced in that it was honest, not balanced
Yeah.
in, like, you were coming up with arbitrary things to say that were positive and an overall negative experience.
Also, it wasn't like you were just saying, oh, I dislike this, I dislike that. It was, you had pointed out mechanically what was slow or wrong with the game that could be improved upon. Did you put suggestions?
I didn't put suggestions. I just said, like, here are the reasons
See,
why.
I would always follow up my negative critique with suggestions.
So my
Yeah,
takeaway from this in general is just the fact that, like, it's your choice to release a game on early access, you are going to leave people with a negative impression of your game, and that'll be their impression forever. Because people don't always come back after it leaves early access. Like, all these open-world survival games can't be forgiven for all their flaws because they're in early access for 17 years. Like,
right, and I think
you're selling it to people to play.
Negative reviews, I would say, would almost be beneficial in the fact that it will tell you what you can improve upon.
Right. Yes and no. So the problem is this is on Steam. These people are trying to make money and fund their game via Steam. So negative
they just want to be told they don't have to do anything more.
Away. And so the less negative reviews you have, the more likely a person is to look at it and impulse buy it. Whereas, like, if you look at it and you're like,
mixed reviews, 80%, 70%, or whatever.
I mean, people are only willing to buy so many games. And, like, people are way more likely to buy Moon Hunters than Looterkings. Probably. Just because, the reviews are great.
I mean, it is true that a couple more negative reviews. I mean, have you guys ever had a slightly lower grade in your classes and it brought your whole GPA down a couple points and you're like, but I was so close. If I had been 1 percentage point higher, I would have been this other thing. It reminds me of how on Amazon, when I decide to look at items, I click 4 stars and up. But there were a lot of items that actually were intriguing that may have been just a smidge below 4 stars, like 3.8 or 3.9 that I could have considered. So I can understand why they would dislike it from that point, because one more bad review could mean them
But that's just how reviews work, ultimately.
Yeah.
Especially if you're putting your stuff on a platform that has public reviews. Anyone can review it for any reason to say anything. Like, a lot of the positive reviews are going to be like, fucking goblin penis, lol, upvote. Like, that's real reviews on Steam. People do that every day. Like, having a thoughtful a fully developed list of things in your negative review that talk about all the issues and everything from someone who literally played it the intended way in multiplayer and completed all the existing content. That's the most valuable information you could have as somebody on a storefront page. Like Wander's review is like the best case scenario for people looking at the store page wanting to know what the hell this game is to have a balanced opinion about the thing that's coming out, that they're thinking about whether or not they want to pay money for it at $18 for an early access game that we beat in 2 hours because it doesn't have content and all that content is shit. People should know going in on the purchase on the page that the game is short, that there's not much to it, the grind's tedious, the content's uninspired, most of it makes no sense, it's generally developed poorly, and we all had more fun laughing at the game for being bad than for playing the game. Like, that's good information to have.
Right now, I'm just imagining the title of this podcast.
Be like when you play with your 3 friends. Like, it's important.
Yeah.
It's just going to be Goblin Willing. Yep. That's just going to be the title of things.
It'll probably call Obduction something, because that's what people are most interested in right now.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about Looterkings.
I would like to make mention, seeing as I brought up Necropolis, they've actually been updating it, patch every 2 weeks, adding like new weapons and shit. And I'm like, okay.
Well, have they allowed you to actually like take sockets out so that you can apply certain effects to your weapons? I'd like that.
It's not even close to good yet. But it's just the fact that they are updating it with regularity. That in and of itself is like really encouraging.
Yep.
Generally, because
I'm watching. I'm reading the review for Looterkings that was left on you, by the way, and I think it's hilarious that the first paragraph is literally just like.
Do you want to read it out loud? I was not doing it. Kind of out of respect, but I mean...
the developer's response?
Oh, I don't want to read it out loud, but okay. if you don't want to read it out of respect, that's fine.
I mean, no. We can read it out loud. I was just... I don't know.
Wait, so you're reading the developer's response to his response?
Yeah, I just want to read the first paragraph, or just like the first sentence, because I find it very, very interesting, which is, so you played a neat game with perfectly working multiplayer and online capabilities, like the level design, and found it quite hard to play. Like... Doesn't that set like a really weird tone to me? Like if I read that, it sounds like they're getting very combative.
Perfectly.
It's the sentence that Dark Souls fanboys use. It's like it's the long eloquent version of "get good."
Yeah, really.
When like it wasn't like about the getting good, like the game's
Wait.
balance and gameplay generally just doesn't make sense and feels like garbage. And it's coming from a
Oh, great.
lobby full of people who beat these hard games. Like I beat Lords of the Fallen in every Dark Souls game and Bloodborne, and I beat
Lords of the Fallen was a hell of a lot better than
Sanctuary. I beat
Looterkings.
Fury. It's not
I didn't beat Fury.
game's not too hard. It's just shit. It's not good hard. It's just a nightmare of not making sense. And, like, giving the player no tools with which to fight things that crush them instantly. Like, I didn't...
Well,
Yeah.
good thing they didn't leave a review or response or anything like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had all this material for our podcast, too. And then immediately rip into them even further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good move on their part.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's going to be one of those games that's totally forgotten because nobody's really going to latch onto it to the extent.
So this just turned into a Jim Sterling podcast for a bit.
Where
little bit, yeah.
Where Digital Homicide strikes back, and then it's like, we're gonna just shit on them more now. Haha, you prompted this.
Speaking of good
bit.
games,
A little bit.
good games that actually have good reviews that I want to play with you guys. I'd mentioned Hive Jump, but it didn't
yeah.
have online multiplayer. Comes out on Wednesday, and I'm super stoked for that.
Woohoo!
Cool.
Hive Jump. Oh, the
And that's a
multiplayer
game
comes
I like
out?
playing too.
The multiplayer's
Yeah.
almost done.
Oh.
Yeah, that was really fast. Like I was worried about it for a second because I was like, I really want to play this with the guys.
Hey,
It's
what
like
about
Picante
me?
multiplayer, except it...
I liked playing Hive
hopefully
Jump with
worked.
you.
Guys is gender neutral.
Oh, no. Oh, no. What are you doing, Wander?
No. We don't want to get into this too much. I just want to play Hive Jump with 4 people. Two people is good, but that's not enough bullets. That is not enough bullets.
I love my Ice Beam.
It's such a good game. That and like Moon Hunters. Like there's been a trend.
Oh, right. We haven't gone back to Moon Hunters in ages.
Yeah, we probably should. There's been a trend of like a couple of these like online co-op games.
There's a lot
that
of
are
merch
really
you can get
solid
from Moon
though a bit
Hunters.
shallow.
So do you think
And-
Moon Hunters might have actually updated in a meaningful way?
Let me check.
Oh,
be-
wait, there's a cosplay and art contest? I should have known about
Uh-oh.
it.
Let's see.
Oh.
Keen Bindings.
Joe,
new
what have you done?
art. No,
Nothing,
it looks
that's
like
the problem.
It was
looks
your
like
destiny.
It looks like the next major Moon Hunters patch will be in a couple of weeks. They've got a couple of them, but for the most part, they were focused on getting the PS4 version out and online multiplayer maxed out.
Nah, I'm not going to be cosplaying again for a while because every costume's at least $100 or $200 to make,
wow.
plus all the
Yeah.
hours. So
Cosplay's a
500
pain.
usually is like what most cosplays end up running up towards, I think.
You know, since this is
500? That seems a little high, but
Maybe I'm thinking of like the professional ones.
oh,
Like people
well,
that like enter contests and try to like make like money off of it.
I've won a couple contests, but albeit they were like at our college cosplay things.
Keith.
Hey, but those were still a moderately large convention.
Poor Keith.
well, it's
All right,
just that
Keith.
thing where I can't tell if the conversation is going to continue or not, so I keep getting ready to prep the next thing, and I'm like, oh, it's still going. Shit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I could do art contests, but cosplay contests not for a while. But you can go on with what you're saying.
Since this is kind of the abduction episode, I wanted to bring up a couple of other puzzle games I've played recently, because they're related topics, really. Because I have
It's
recently
not
played-
Pan Pan. I'm not interested.
I've recently played.
Dude, hear him out.
I recently played to completion both Quadrilateral Cowboy and the Turing test.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
They-
yeah,
they're
I was
both-
interested in that because I noticed it on the page. Wander has your YouTube channel-y
Yeah.
thing up. And the Turing test is it's the test that you perform on someone to tell if they're sentient or not, correct?
To tell if they're an AI or
Yeah.
not, basically. To tell
yeah.
the difference between an AI and a person.
I requested a press copy, but they haven't gotten back to me, and I'm sad.
Yeah, I got it really like immediately when I found it. I got lucky, I guess, or maybe
I have the
maybe
worst
they're
luck when it
fans
comes.
and they saw the witness.
I don't know. I have the worst luck when it comes to requesting press copies. I'll request a press copy,
So,
and like you'll get one. I'll get no response, and I'm like, huh?
Is it a puzzle game or is it something else?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a puzzle game. I saw
Portal
a little
Soma.
bit. We're playing it regardless of whether or not Keith got
Right.
there first.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even out yet, technically. So
Yeah,
you
it
can
comes
still
out in
get
2
there
days.
on the technical day one. I'm technically early, but historically people look up stuff when it actually comes out. So it just means I'll have more videos out already. But if you're there on day one, you're fine. But for these games where I want to talk about Quadrilateral Cowboy a little bit first, just because that was sort of a smaller project to an extent. It was it's from the guy that made Gravity Bone and 30 Flights of Loving. So his previous games that caught people's attention, but only some people's attention really, were these games where you play as like cube people and do these really short 30-minute like interactive movies. It's like a silent film in the form of a video game, except instead of being like a walking simulator or something, it's more like it's edited like a movie, as if you're jumping between locations and between scenarios, and a series of abstract silent scenes try to push together a narrative, almost like some sort of like Pulp Fiction editing is going on and a nonlinear storytelling. And what I got interesting is here he tried to take that similar storytelling concept, but he applied it to an actual video game, because Quadrilateral Cowboy is basically a hacking game. It's a game where every mission is always you're trying to get inside of a place and steal something and get back in some way or another. And so you're going to ports and typing in actual command prompt type entries to set up your commands for like just opening a door for 3 seconds, because if it's open for more than 3 seconds, it'll set off an alarm. So you need to set the door so that it'll go open for 3 seconds, but only when you blink twice, because when you blink your eyes twice, that sends the code to do that. And then you have to be there just in time to get through it, and like you're syncing up all these actions and stuff like that.
Well, wait. So how does blinking do something?
You get an eye reader that will actually, and you can type in commands that of like what will happen when you blink twice in a row or 3 times in a row and stuff like that, and sync up commands to your blinking. And you get like
that's awesome.
It's such a cool game to talk about. When you're talking about it, it's great. But then you play it and you're like, oh, that's kind of a bummer, because the way that the campaign structure is that it has a bunch of these individual heists basically, and during each heist you do like a little 3-step mission really quick. Like you go in 3 times to steal 3 different things real quick on each map basically, and each map is giving you a new gadget, and the new gadget's usually interesting and adds new flavor or a new dimension to it. The problem is it has that problem that I told you about glitch space before, where it keeps throwing new stuff at you and then forgetting about it basically, because in literally the next world you'll still have
all your things are gone,
but it won't be useful.
They never do anything.
Like it's on your wheel. It's like it's on your mouse wheel of items, like you're playing Counter-Strike. But you'll use a level. You'll have a thing that's like something that launches you across the map like a fan and takes you to a different place, and you can use that to cover gaps. And then immediately the next map will not have any use for that and stuff like that. And then halfway through the game, it even throws away all your mechanics, introduces entirely new ones from scratch, and becomes a different game. And then the very, very, very last mission kind of tries to mix together a few of the different mechanics in a somewhat elegant way. But all that it really does is set up what ultimately, unfortunately, it only really manages to set up like the template of like what the game could have been if it had more levels. Because it basically has one level that uses all the ideas. But it's not like Portal, where like the one level is technically half the duration of the game. Because the Portal's like half tutorial, half the level that is the end that combines all the ideas in a cool way. Instead, Quadrilateral Cowboy's like, there's like a 20-minute mission at the end that uses all the stuff, but then it just ends in credits. And like I think it has Steam Workshop support, but like it's really unfortunate that a really creative and interesting idea just kind of doesn't have the campaign to finish its ideas off. And if it was famous, it would have a ton of mod support, because they'd make a bunch of custom levels with these mechanics, but I don't know if anyone cares about any game made by Blendo Games, really.
What was the game? I played a game a while back called Halfway. They spent so much time making workshop support for it. I think the last time I checked, there was like 2 levels that actually weren't worth anything. Oh god, it's even worse. Yeah, there's like 5 now.
Nah.
Which is a shame, because like Halfway is really good. Reminded me a lot of like XCOM in a really good way. But yeah, they spent all this time making this workshop, and there are 4. And one is a Spanish translation, and the next increases a backpack size, which I don't remember what that does. But like they have this level editor. Doesn't mean a thing. It's such a shame, but workshop support can be really good for a game, but only if the game actually had like a following. Otherwise, just make an expansion.
There's room for like 6 ultra successful workshop games a year, basically.
Yeah,
like you can't like.
It's just gonna make that stuff.
You have to have the people. It's unfortunate, but like it's not a crutch you can lean on when you're Blendo Games, which is a company that none of you have probably heard of until today.
I have actually. Adam Zombie Smasher was one of my favorite original Humble Bundle games that I picked up.
But on the better side of things, there's the Turing test, which is this game where you're out on Europa, the moon of Jupiter, and you're on some kind of mission, and you're separated from your crew or something. You go down to Europa from the space station or orbiting satellite, whatever, and you're going there to find the rest of your crew and everything. And it has a really cool story that I won't really talk about at all, but it has some of the coolest narrative tricks I've seen in a game for a while. And I don't even mean specifically twists, but actually like storytelling mechanics in a video game to convey concepts as they're coming out. Like, it was really compelling. And the puzzle solving itself is all good. It's like a middle ground of good bad in a certain way, where like it has 70 levels. Technically has bonus levels too, so I get 77 levels basically ultimately. And they're laid out really well, and they're paced pretty well, and like the mechanics are sound, and they keep introducing new mechanics at a good pace, and those new mechanics are iterated on in multiple ways. My main gripe with the game is that it never really stumps you, really. Like, I beat the entire game in one sitting, and for 70 test chambers and so many mechanics, and oftentimes actually like some clever and inventive ways of using those mechanics in a bunch of different iterations and stuff, and that was all cool. But it never, like, I never really felt like I had to think that hard to figure things out. Like, I played the Talos Principle, and like, I don't know if anyone else has played that yet here, but Talos Principle has this really long, like 20-hour campaign practically, and it introduces like a series of like 5 different devices that could be used for different mechanics throughout the game. And when you get those 5 devices, even while you're still getting them, the game's already stumping you with the existing mechanics from time to time, because they have to really think of new ways to apply these mechanics. But when I played the Turing test, I kind of just breezed through the entire game. And what was really confusing to me
were those screenshots you sent me of the Turing test? The ones with like the logic symbols in it.
Oh yeah, that was the Turing test. That was that was my least favorite part of the entire game.
Yeah, if you knew logic, like, it was like really straightforward.
So that's
but
not the.
If
so
you
that,
don't, then there you go.
Yeah, there was a little weird outside thing. That thing I showed you was not the Turing test's body of game. The body of the game is a bunch of like. A lot of it involves energy sources that you take in and out of objects, and some of the energy sources have timers where they repeat or wear out, or they are constant, and they mix and match them in different ways to make certain things work and not work in conjunction with each other, and there'll be like pressure plates maybe that will shift the timing or like toggle switches in electrical circuits to turn certain things on and off at patterns and things like that. And you can set up semi-automated things sometimes. But it has a series of challenge rooms throughout the game, which they look like secrets slightly, but they're not, because basically halfway through every chapter there's just a side path you can go in that has a challenge room in it, and it's not a secret at all, because it's always right there, like as a side path in plain sight. It's just not listed as one. It just doesn't count towards the 70 levels that the main game shows. And one of those specific challenge rooms did have this weird thing where it required massively out of context information that was not building upon mechanics of the game at all. And that was I kind of hated that room because of the fact that it was like
was
now, why are
that
they
the
on
one
Europa?
with the weird symbols?
It was using
you were asking about?
It was using like weird logic symbols and not properly
That's
contextualizing
bad.
them.
Yeah.
And also some of the
it's like
symbols
throwing-
seem kind of wrong, because when I got to some of the last ones, I would look up the math symbol and I'm like, okay, I've confirmed, I finally solved this puzzle on accident, and I've been able to reverse engineer what the answer meant to figure out what the symbol was.
What an and means.
I was able to figure out what
exclusive or
like the last one that really stumped me. I was able to figure out what the symbol eventually meant by looking up online. Like, I was able to figure out what it was supposed to mean, but even when I found out what it was supposed to mean, the symbols I could find online, none of them actually properly matched the symbol that was in front of me. So it was pretty nightmarish. But that never happens anywhere else in the game. It's one room of like, why'd you do this? But overall, all the main campaign's fun, and it's like a nice little ride. It's just I'm just slightly bummed out that like it never did that part where a puzzle game really challenges you. It just was a fun ride of iterating, and you had to be engaged enough to keep thinking and keep paying attention to the like, whoa, what's this room doing? Yay, this is the new thing. Cool. But I would pick up on everything immediately and just solve it. And like sometimes I would get through a room in 30 seconds of going into it, and I'm like, huh, I feel like I didn't stop walking at any point. Like, I just walked through the puzzle.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and there's it also had a weird problem in the later levels, where the later levels got weirdly complicated because of a mechanic they added that was tied to the story, so I won't talk about that at all. But the new mechanic led to a situation where the game was more likely to get you stuck. And so it led to these nightmarishly complicated rooms where once I'd be overwhelmed by how many features were around me in the room, so I'd be confused at first, but then I would just, instead of looking at the features, I would just look at where the exit was, and then reverse engineer from there the steps that would need to take to get to the exit. And when I got to the exit, I then realized that half the level didn't matter, and I realized that all those parts of the level that didn't matter were just there to mechanics that would get you unstuck in various ways if you got stuck. And so, like, the level design suffered from this over population of elements just for the sake of trying to have like fail safes, when it could have just sort of reminded you that there was a restart level button if you actually got stuck, which is what I did use if I ever got mildly stuck, as in like I got jammed somewhere and couldn't get out without using a weird device. I would just hit the restart button and start the level over, and because that was like 100 times faster than trying to do their weird workarounds that they like overpopulated levels with. But great sound, cool voice acting for the most important characters, great writing, surprising amounts of like environmental storytelling and a bunch of other non-traditional storytelling mechanics to get story across. Great developments, great like pacing of the story along the way, cool setting, and everything about it, all the way down to like even the ending was like, wow, all the things in this game was really cool. I'm happy this game happened. I just wish that had more of a complete difficulty curve, because yeah, Portal 2, Talos Principle, and The Witness all had a better thing where they had the easy stuff and the mechanics, and then eventually like the big thing that makes you feel like you really nailed it and pulled something off by figuring it out. That's
definitely the hardest part of designing puzzle games, though, is making these like increasing linear difficulty stuff. Like, that is really a tough skill for designers to get good at.
Yeah, I can't
when you
even
find
begin to
games
say
that
how
are good
to
at it, when you find games that are great at it, like, those are rare gems, you know?
Yep. So like Turing, the Turing test is just close enough to that kind of game to recommend, basically. And especially if you love the if you love playing a game like Talos Principle, which has a lot of like philosophical debate going on in its narrative, that's also a great reason to play a Turing test. Because without going into any details, yes, based on the title, you can tell it has to do with AIs, and it has to do with consciousness, and a lot of conversations and arguments about that. And the first thing you wake up to is an AI character that's a weird like a Wall-E robot that's taller or something. Like, it's like that's one of the main characters of the game. So like it does have, if you love that sci-fi arguments about AI or trying to figure out whether or not data counts as a person and stuff like that, and also larger philosophy arguments that are brought up by Talos Principle, like, Turing Test is a game to play. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I read a lot of Isaac Asimov, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it regardless of everything.
Yeah, same.
Like, I'm definitely gonna play it on the 30th.
So, I've been saying this the entire podcast, but also Pan Pan. Pan Pan sounds really stupid. Like, the name for Pan Pan is dumb as hell.
Did you really finish the whole game in an hour?
Dude.
Yep, 1 hour.
Weird.
It's real short.
I mean, I guess I could find
1.3
time
hours.
for it then.
But so the game kind of has like a visual style that kind of reminded me of Hyperlight Drifter. You know, the isometric, high saturation, and even kind of like the like sound effects and the music, which is really off-putting in a way. But the entire game takes place in like one area. Kind of, it's like you crash land and you've got like a desert area, a foresty area, a water area, and like an indoor area, but like they're all really small and usually just have like one or two puzzles. But you know, a lot of them are kind of fairly challenging. It's actually one of the first isometric puzzle games I've run into where like you'll just like set your camera rotation to one side and then get totally stumped by a puzzle for like 10 minutes because you can't figure out what the hell's going on. Until you just, like, rotate and you're like, oh, god damn it, I'm really dumb here.
I had that happen 20% of your playthrough duration.
It was... I spent a lot of time on one puzzle being like... it was like... It gave you... It had kind of the perfect Witness style, like, here's kind of what you're supposed to do. now do it, where it's like, go in front of this thing, behind this thing, whatever. I didn't realize that it was also telling me on the backside too. So I was solving the puzzle for only one side and just could not figure out what was going wrong. And I eventually probably could have figured it out just by like brute forcing it. But mostly the reason why I suggested is just it's quite possibly one of the prettiest games I've played all year. And like it was a pretty solid puzzle game too. No, so I told you this yesterday when we were talking, but you start. And the game just has like this kind of like hot air balloon spaceship going along, and you don't know what to do until you click on it, at which point it makes like a horrible noise, and you realize, oh, I have to crash the ship manually. So you click on it a bunch, and the thing just flies out of the sky. I know. Yeah. I had a good time with that. But then you have to go through and like grab all of your parts and like fix your ship back up.
Grow up.
Yeah, kind of. But that's also a very good game. But, so, like, halfway through you get
so perfectly on Grow Home that Grow Home no longer has a reason to exist.
Sort of. Do we want to talk about that? Have you played Grow Up?
No, we've been going for almost 2 hours now.
We have?
No, we haven't.
We're getting close. We're getting there. We've got an hour and 40. Okay, I want to comment on that, seeing as it was brought up. Grow Up does a ton of things right that Grow Home didn't. It's much faster. It's a much easier to get into experience. But I found it disjointed. It felt more like going from challenge to challenge to challenge to challenge. And, like, you never really perseverated in one area long enough to, like, get used to it. Whereas
I think that Grow Home was almost a they didn't anticipate it being nearly as successful.
It was an accident.
As too.
They just made it for funsies.
They just threw it out there and ended up being an enormous smashing success.
It came out at about the same time as Child of Light, which they were banking on, and I think Child of Light still did better, but like it still had kind of mixed reviews. Whereas Grow Home, like everybody was bananas for it. But for Grow Home,
no one talks about Child of Light anymore today, and they still talk about Grow Home for sure.
Yep. So, like, for Grow Home, you're growing this plant all the way up into space to get back to your spaceship, and you're constantly, like, working with the tools provided and, like, you know, the mechanics and whatnot to grow the plant into new rocks to power the plant so it grows further every single time. All the while you're trying to collect, like, you know, a couple of collectibles to upgrade your jetpack so you can keep flying more. And there's also a couple of plants that you can use. So, like, eventually you get a flower that works as a parachute, and then later a leaf that works as a hang glider. In Grow Up, it's a spherical planet, and I guess in Grow Home it was too, but, like, there wasn't anything else. It was just, like, ocean that you drown in.
You drown in.
Whereas, like, Grow Up, it's a spherical planet with, like, 5 of these plants. And you grow them for, like, a handful of islands. But you also get, like, you have a permanent parachute almost right from the get-go. And your jetpack recharges while you're in parachute mode. So you can actually fly right from the get-go. Like, you can go straight up if you wanted to.
Yep, and eventually you get a hang glider that will just glide, and you can mostly even yourself out so that you won't really lose altitude. And every time it recharges, it has a booster that lets you shoot higher.
Exactly. So you can actually just, like, glide for a bit, wait for it to recharge, and then keep going up. And eventually you get an aviator skin, so you go real fast, and eventually infinite jetpack and stuff. But the problem with this is there's no more challenge. It's just kind of a nice little world to explore, and the like limitations that make Grow Home like kind of interesting and challenging are gone. So instead, it's like a much more fun world to experience, but you're not forced to be there long enough to develop the attachment to it.
For me, the thing was that
sense.
Grow Home. For me, any elements of challenge mostly amounted to not being like, oh, this makes the game more interesting, but more this game makes the game more tedious. Like one of the worst things about Grow Home. We need numbers.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things about Grow Home was having moments of like, oh, I fell off the ledge. And, like, I saved myself with the parachute, but, like, I have to... Alright, I'll teleport it back up to the highest teleport spot I've found so far, and then I guess I'll just start manually climbing this guy again. And you have to do the really awkward, like, hold left trigger to hold left hand, hold right trigger to hold right hand. You, like, alternate triggers to climb up a wall over and over again. And there were some long, tedious climbs near the end of Grow Home if you ever fell, because...
Oh, yeah, I know.
It was just
I know exactly what you're talking about. So...
The jetpack wouldn't really make you go up that much in that game, and the only parachute or the thing that would glide at all really was like the flower that would all the petals would fall off, and then you literally had to go gather a new one from scratch every time.
Yeah, and I hated that.
There was long stretches of just like, I gotta climb, and it's not that great of a time.
So
and there's not really mechanics or features or things to do besides that.
I just realized why I'm kind of having this differing opinion from you. You didn't 100% the game, I did. So I was like the entire time grabbing every collectible I could and like kind of ignoring progression, whereas you, as far as I can tell, have mostly focused on getting to the end.
We're talking about grow home?
Grow up. Like I'm looking at your final episode.
Grow up.
Right now. Yeah, like you didn't get the final skins. How many skins did you get?
We're talking about the new game, right?
Yes.
I'm not done with that game.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No. Don't make assumptions.
I see.
I'm not done with that game at all.
Stop. I see 2 days ago, episode 7, To the Moon, which is the same title as mine, so I just assumed... He's probably done with it.
I just got the glider. I was like, let's just go to the moon, and then I went to the moon. And then I did a challenge.
I thought he was
doing
a...
I just did a challenge up there in space and then came back down. Because you can go anywhere you want in that game, kind of. But yeah, like the game has like 40 challenges you can do, and you can collect 150 collectibles and so on and so forth.
I have to say, I think part of the other problem is, like, I got a lot of power-ups that kind of never meant anything. Like, the ball mode is the least useful thing ever.
No, the ball mode is speed.
When does that ever matter?
Well, anytime you're traversing on land, like, you just shoot across that continent instantly in ball mode. Like,
I just switched to my glider and fly. Because I find the ball mode is finicky and awkward.
Well, you get the glider significantly later is the thing. Because if I remember correctly, don't you get the glider by getting collectibles?
No, you get the glider. You get the boost on the glider by getting collectibles.
Oh yeah.
I actually got the ball really late, so I got the ball, and then the next episode I got the glider, and then the next episode after that I got boost glider. Yeah, see, I'm really anal about getting every crystal I can possibly get my grubby little mitts on. So I had like 100 crystals by where you are right now, and so I had like crazy jetpack, super boost, and so I'm just flying around, and I'm like, I can turn into a ball, I guess.
For me, the main thing about Grow Up is that this new version has so many new mobility options, and it has so many ways to get around and so many little challenges, and like the whole map is so populated with different biomes and different little events to do and so many different interactions. And it never becomes tedious because it's not a giant single stalk that goes up forever that you have to climb up with your bare hands. That it's always kind of fun to play, just all the time, just running around, just hanging out.
No, I will
this
give
series
it that.
will never be like, oh, what a cool challenge series. It'll always be like a whimsy project.
It's absolutely
this one's better at whimsy
game
than the first one.
Yeah, I guess Stockholm Syndrome is why Grow Home was good in comparison to Grow Up.
Like, Grow Home was even like even the final triumph of the game was like kind of a pain in the ass, because you get to the very top of the stalk and like get the star onto the ship, and you're like, okay, grab it with both hands, and we're gonna try to...
Yeah, that was real awkward.
Thing where he tries to drag stuff, and it's not really moving, and like, how do I make this work? And I get it on the ship, and like...
I think that took like 7 tries on my end. That was rough business.
Like, that was so finicky that when they said there was like 10 more down there or something, I'm like, nope. When they introduced the epilogue, it was like, they're everywhere on the planet, go get more! I'm like, no! But like, every time I see a new thing to do on Grow Up, I'm like, yeah, let's go do that thing now. Because it's like, it's just kind of a fun game to play.
It's fun.
It's like playing Banjo-Kazooie or something.
I was definitely comparing it very heavily to Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
Unfavorably.
The only real complaint I have about both games is just I don't like the character's walk.
It's awkward. Moving with him is painful. Even like, have you ever like had it where you're like in free fall, you pull out your glider and you try and like pull out of a nosedive with a boost, and your character instead just goes firing very, very quickly into the ground? Because I have that happen way more than I'd like.
A little off topic.
Just trying to walk up slopes and stuff, and your legs just go full physics mode, and they feel like you're... It feels like you're holding up... It feels like a hand puppet where you operate the mouth and the arms, and the legs just dangle.
Oh yeah, it totally looks like it.
But that's
the drunken robot stumble is... I mean, it's charming, but it's also, like, kind of painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little off topic, but at at Boston Comic Con, I saw a couple that was dressed up as Banjo and Kazooie.
That's cool.
So they're like, you know, sort of like human versions of them. Kazooie,
Uh-huh.
I couldn't tell that she was Kazooie at first because it looked like she was just wearing, you know, a red skirt
I was
and
really hoping it
top.
would be this like small woman carrying around this like big man.
You know, hair that looks like flames and stuff. Well, sort of, except she had feathers on her too. So I'm like, oh, is this like a Moltres cosplay or something? And then I realized that she had a belt with the different egg grenades and various types of eggs on them. I'm like, oh! And then the guy comes around the corner and he's wearing, you know, the yellow banjo pants, the blue backpack, and sort of a bear getup, but not quite because it was really just some face paint and ears and whatnot. But it was funny. Such a cute couple.
Well,
She's
I guess
turned
we
into
have
an old
we've
lady.
run out of brain juice at this point.
Yes, we have.
I definitely have.
I feel
my
bad because
pulled pork
questions were
is
actually
done.
happening this time, but there was no time to ever weave them
Yeah,
in
we
at
did
any
it.
point.
Well, we haven't fully podcast in like 3-4 weeks, so go
we haven't,
freaking
done,
figure.
we haven't done an episode in 2 weeks, and Bert hasn't been on in a month.
Yeah.
It was
Next week.
3/2
Yeah,
/
I'll try to
Nerd
scroll
Save
through
the
chat
Universe
and
for a
save
while.
some of these for later.
Yeah.
People are asking about
Go ahead,
VR
Howard.
and the future of gaming and the nature,
And we didn't listen
the
at
puzzle
all.
game genre. I was reading all of them, but I'm like, I can't slide this in anywhere. We're kind of this is happening. But
Well, we had
can-
stuff to
We were
talk about.
Yeah.
we were too focused and too on topic.
If you're
Yes.
if you're watching these videos
Or
on
off.
YouTube and stuff like that, especially
Or
like
off.
the permanent video that's uploaded and everything, like if you leave comments, we can look at those questions and like we can try to organize pre-podcast with existing questions to hopefully bring in. I think that's probably that'll probably work better than trying to
right.
respond to live ones because I don't know how well we can work those in.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll try to make this
We
work.
can try.
We just want to talk about stuff. That's what this is. It'll be fine.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, like always, guys. See you next time.
Yeah. Thank you.